You mentioned the word democracy a couple of times. It feels like things have changed. How would you describe the threat environment at the moment?
We've certainly heard a level of concern from across the political spectrum about the ability to run a normal election campaign, and that interface between the public and the people who are going to be charged with running the country is really important. So we should be concerned about the overall direction of travel here, even if at the moment we're still successfully facilitating what needs to occur. It's a conversation we must have. People are generally more anxious, more angry. I think that's driven significantly by social media. A couple of things: the tendency for it to give you more of what you already believe to be true, and the tendency for it to give you emotion and outrage. Outrage is the currency of social media, and so that feeds into a level of angst, and then you get the people at the extremes of that who are prepared to move towards physical expressions of that anger. As a small country which has enjoyed traditionally pretty good social cohesion, we should be able to do some things. We're losing the ability to dialogue, to resolve issues through civil conversation as opposed to other means, and that's something that I think the country should be thinking about. I don't think it's a blip. I do believe that the trends we're seeing now in terms of polarisation are a lasting feature of the way we're engaging with information on social media particularly. What we're seeing is, I believe, part of a long-term trend that would be occurring but for COVID. What I think COVID did was pour real fuel on the fire because of the extreme measures that were required to respond to it, and then the way that caused people to react. Things may improve a little as we get further away from that. Centrally, we can monitor a wide range of people who are expressing disturbing views and check whether we need to respond to them with an enforcement approach. So we do that centrally, but locally, police rely on strong relationships with the communities that they police in. And if you go to the smallest subset, our 1, 2 and 3 person stations around the country, the way they operate and police is by having good relationship with the whole community. And that does smooth over a lot of these problems, except that many people are engaged in an online and international community that isn't so much shaped by what's happening in the physical environment. I think the fear of what could happen is sometimes worse than the reality, and so in some ways we need to keep this in perspective. We need to recognise that we're still in a very safe country and I think live our lives normally, but also understand that the environment is perhaps riskier than it was, and common sense approaches in terms of how much we put ourselves out there online and so on are sensible things to do. I believe that we will adapt. I think we're seeing the starts of some moves to try and respond to these problems internationally. And hopefully we can see a little bit more cohesion come back in as we move further away from the pandemic and all that came with that. I believe ultimately democracies will adapt. They will respond to this because what we're seeing is a bit of a threat to our democracy, our way of organising our country. And then we need local solutions as well, and of course police is playing its part in terms of looking at the extremes of this and making sure that we're doing our best to monitor what's going on.